is linked data? Well, it's not so much as a thing as it is a method. It's a methodology, it's a process, it's an information publication paradigm that utilizes existing web technologies and existing web architecture to publish information online in a machine parsable, machine processable format. Interconnected knowledge graphs enable software agents known as reasoners to navigate a knowledge graph and to infer implicit information from explicitly declared facts. This is accomplished by using the RDF abstract data model that has been developed by the W3C. What we do is we represent data instances in a given domain, as well as the relationships between those data instances using HTTP URIs. At the core of the RDF abstract data model sits the triple. Each of these is represented by a URI, except when it's not, when it's an integer, string, or a blank node. But in all other times, they are represented with HTTP URIs. The triple consists of three parts: a subject, a predicate, and an object. The object of one triple can be the subject of another, resulting in an interconnected knowledge graph that can be used to navigate through a wealth of enriching information. There are several different practical considerations which I suppose I have learned through the practice of implementing linked data projects across very different types of humanities data sets. Data in the humanities and the social sciences is often collected and stored in ad hoc solutions. It might be analog notes, it might be annotations on a page of a book, it might be in a spreadsheet, it might already be in RDF. In fact, we have projects that combine data from all these different solutions. The Elephant Project, or the early English print in HathiTrust, a linked semantic workset prototype, demonstrated the use of linked data in combining information from independent sources into a cohesive whole that could then be analyzed and accessed from a single point of entry. These datasets were the phase 1 of the early English Books Online Text Creation Partnership and a subset of the HathiTrust Digital Library. In January 20, phase 1 of the early English Books Online, or EBO, were released to the public as TEI compliant, XML encoded, hand transcribed texts. We took this data and at the metadata level produced RDF so that we could combine it with a custom dataset from the HathiTrust Digital Library. Both datasets contain publications that have been published between 1473 and 1700. The key objectives of the Elephant projects was to generate RDF to export metadata extracted from the EBO TCP and then combine that with RDF produced by the HathiTrust Research Center. And we would do so by using appropriate ontologies and creating a prototype user interface through which scholars could seamlessly investigate the combined linked dataset. The workflow applied for this project consists of 6 separate steps. Step 1 was the consultation workshop, asking for the opinions and research questions that domain experts and librarians would be seeking to solve. Step 2 was the technical analysis of the metadata requirements and the ontology selection. In the end, we opted to adopt several classes and properties from existing bibliographic metadata ontologies, including mods and mads from the Library of Congress, as well as BibFrame. We also had to create some custom classes and properties. Step 3 was the selection of appropriate tools for the generation of RDF as derived from the EBO TCP, or the Early English Books Online Text Creation Partnership. We predominantly use two tools. One from the University of Southern California called WebComma, which works very well with tabular data. It requires much original investment from the human scholar or researcher, but produces very high quality RDF at the end. Step 4 was the population of a virtuoso triple store with the RDF produced from the EBO text corpus. The Elephant Virtuoso triple store contains over 1,137,000 triples. It has 250,000 entities, 66 classes, 214 predicates, 287,000 distinct subject nodes, and almost 300,000 distinct objects. The Elephant project was a fascinating case study example because the data that we worked with was based on the information provided by the original historical source. So these are texts, volumes, published pamphlets written between the late 1400s and before the start of the 1700s, so all historical text. This is a time when metadata standards have not exactly been standardized. And what we found was a staggering diversity of expression even within a single category of date. We have almost 100 distinct expressions of author date alone, again in a collection of just 25,000 records. There were over 1,500 distinct expressions for publication date, which we passed down to 54 different types. There were over 20 distinct types of information in the header, over 700 unique places, over 6,000 expressions of person, and for almost half of them, we were able to find IDs from external authority files such as VIAF and the Library of Congress. Institutional policies, however, dictate that only the Early English Books Online, or EBO data, is available to the public. This means that even the RDF produced from the HathiTrust metadata cannot be made publicly available. It can feature in the analysis and it'll affect the search results that are displayed in the Elephant Project prototype user interface, but the material itself is not available. And this is a very interesting case study example in how institutional policies can affect LinkedData projects. The main heuristics and bits of advice to take away, I suppose, would be that firstly, there are political, institutional, legal, and socio-cultural considerations to every LinkedData project. And it should be of fundamental importance that these are taken into consideration from the very onset of the project and not simply added as a box tick exercise at the end of a completed workflow. Secondly, the best tools and the systems to recommend are not simple and universal, but rather are those that most clearly and most effectively align themselves with the existing skills and the functional requirements and necessities of a particular project, a researcher, or a specific workflow. In other words, the tool that's best for you might not be the best tool for me, and vice versa. They might be if our skill sets, hopes, and desires for RDF align, but if they don't, there's real value in testing out different options and evaluating your choices until you settle on the tool that best works for you.